Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, recently paid a visit to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where the U.S. dropped nuclear bombs. And she came back with some reflections on her trip, including a warning about the dangers of nuclear war today. So this is some of what Tulsi Gabbard said.
Recently visited Hiroshima in Japan and stood at the epicenter of a city that remains scarred by the unimaginable horror caused by a single nuclear bomb dropped in 1945, 80 years ago. It's hard for me to find the words to express what I saw, the stories that I heard, the haunting sadness that still remains. This is an experience that will stay with me forever. This attack obliterated the city, killed over 300,000 people, many dying instantly while others died from severe burns, injuries, radiation sickness, and cancer that set in the following months and years. Nagasaki suffered the same fate. Homes, schools, families, all gone in a flash. The survivors, the hibakusha, they carried the pain of extreme burns, radiation sickness, and loss for decades.
So that's Tulsi Gabbard, talking a bit about what she saw, visiting the sites of these U.S. atomic bombings in Japan during the Second World War. She doesn't mention explicitly who carried out these bombings, but we all know it was the U.S. And she's saying that nuclear war is the worst thing imaginable. And she also, in the same video, warned about the dangers of nuclear war today. And she doesn't explicitly say why, but it's very clear what she's referring to, which is something she's been very vocal about opposing, which is the U.S. proxy war against Russia in Ukraine, where just recently Ukraine bombed parts of Russia's nuclear arsenal. And so listen to what Tulsi Gabbard has to say about the threats that this is causing to the world today.
A single nuclear weapon today could kill millions in just minutes. Just one of these nuclear bombs would vaporize everything at its core: people, buildings, life itself. The shockwave would crush structures miles away, killing and maiming countless people. And then comes the fallout. Radioactive poison spreading through the air, water, and soil, condemning survivors to agonizing deaths or lifelong suffering. A nuclear winter could follow, with smoke and ash completely blocking the sun, plunging the world into darkness and cold, killing crops and starving billions. Acid rain would scar the earth, wiping out entire ecosystems. This isn't some made-up science fiction story. This is the reality of what's at stake, what we are facing now. Because as we stand here today, closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation than ever before, political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. Perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to. So it's up to us, the people, to speak up and demand an end to this madness. We must reject this path to nuclear war and work toward a world where no one has to live in fear of a nuclear holocaust.
That's pretty striking. The director of national intelligence issuing a warning about the threat of a nuclear holocaust in light of the fact, as she mentioned, there are people out there fueling tensions between the world's top two nuclear powers. Now, she doesn't say it explicitly, but she's very clearly referring to the U.S.-led proxy war in Ukraine against Russia, which just recently escalated with Ukraine bombing parts of Russia's nuclear arsenal, these major strategic bombers that Ukraine attacked with drones. So Tulsi Gabbard took it upon herself to issue this warning about nuclear war. Well, how are people who support the Ukraine proxy war receiving her warning? They're not happy about it. Here, for example, is Ron Filipowski. He says, DNI Tulsi Gabbard repeats Putin's talking points. So warning about the threat of nuclear war, and doing so as the top U.S. intelligence official, is now repeating Putin's talking points. Here's Malcolm Nance. People might remember him. He is the former MSNBC analyst who parlayed a vague career as a naval intelligence officer. It's not quite clear exactly what he did, but anyway, he uses that background to constantly fearmonger about Russia. He was a big proponent of the Trump-Russia conspiracy theory. He believed that Donald Trump was being controlled by and blackmailed by Vladimir Putin. That's the kind of stuff he believes in. And he says about Tulsi Gabbard, this woman is mentally ill and should be nowhere near America's secrets. We are in danger. So we're not in danger because of the possible threat of nuclear war, according to Malcolm Nance. We're in danger because Tulsi Gabbard is warning about the threat of nuclear war, because we happen to be fighting a proxy war with the world's other top nuclear powers. And for doing that, according to Malcolm Nance, who again was a major Trump-Russia conspiracy theorist, Tulsi Gabbard must be mentally ill. That's Malcolm Nance. Here's Jonah Goldberg, a neoconservative writer. I mean, even if this wasn't hot garbage on the merits, and it is garbage, who thinks the DNI should be spending her time producing and hosting mini docs for social media? So a neocon who spends a lot of time on social media is mad that the nation's top intelligence official went on social media to warn about the dangers of nuclear war as a result of the proxy war that people like Jonah Goldberg and other neocons support. Here's the group Republicans Against Trump. In an apparent attempt to stop the U.S. from punishing Russia for rejecting a ceasefire, by which they mean to stop the U.S. from continuing to fuel a disastrous proxy war with Russia, Tulsi Gabbard released a bizarre video warning of a nuclear holocaust and slamming political elite warmongers who are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. There's a reason Russian state TV called her our girlfriend Tulsi. So these people don't care about a proxy war that is escalating the nuclear threat, and they don't want to hear warnings about it from the nation's top intelligence official. Instead, they just want to call her a Russian agent. Here's more from Jewish Insider. Tulsi Gabbard draws friendly fire from Republicans for video warning of nuclear war. Republican Senator John Kennedy said she obviously needs to change her meds. So people across the spectrum, Democrats and Republicans, mocking Tulsi Gabbard for warning about nuclear war. Now, here's the only thing that I think Tulsi Gabbard got wrong. Okay. And this is a tweet from Mohammed Safa. He says, he shows a picture of a huge explosion, and he says, this is not Hiroshima, this is Gaza. Gaza is nearly 3 times smaller than Hiroshima, and Israel has dropped the equivalent of 6 atomic bombs on Gaza. And it might not be 6 atomic bombs, but the point is, it's certainly more than one, which is just an incredible thing to think about, because Gaza, as he points out, is smaller than Hiroshima. And of course, Gaza is a defenseless population, not involved in a world war as Japan was back in World War II. So, and Tulsi Gabbard, of course, doesn't mention Gaza because her administration is supporting the bombing of Gaza. And that's the only thing I think that she leaves out here. But look at the pushback she gets simply for being concerned about the possibility of nuclear war. And according to proxy warriors, people who support this ongoing disastrous proxy war, anybody who's worried about tensions between the top 2 nuclear powers, especially in the aftermath of this recent Ukrainian attack on Russia's strategic arsenal, must only be doing the work of Vladimir Putin and not genuinely concerned about the fate of the planet. Over to Misha. Over to Misha if she's ready.